Sup, quacks. So, this is it. This is the final Toyhouse saga video. Now, the only reason why I'm stopping this is because there's not much else I can say about Toyhouse that really would warrant a significant video, so I figured I might as well end it here, and also I don't want to drag it on forever. I'll talk more about that at the end, but yeah, so this video is going to be about how Toyhouse users are very odd when it comes to diversity, and this sort of over-the-top progressive mindset a lot of people have, where they're kind of trying so hard to seem like they're the good guys that it actually comes off as more bigoted, and you'll see what I mean when I get to the examples. So let's just dive right in.
Minorities, nationality. Yet people on his side want just one side. Diversity is life, drop them like this, write them like that, and one last thing. Neither are standards, or get labeled as bigoted forever.
When it comes to diversity, I've noticed that people on this site, not everybody, I need to reiterate, not everyone is like this. The Toyhouse culture isn't always bad, but there is definitely an aura of people who really like to harp on those who don't have enough diversity, and if you do have a lot of diversity, then they'll also side-eye you, because it's like for example, if you're a presumably white creator, they're gonna be like, wait, why do you have a black character? That's racist and that's weird because you're not black or whatever. Those types of people are also gonna criticize you for not having enough, which is you can't win. You either have too many or you have too little, and it's just what the heck. And this is also just an issue with the art community in general, is how some people are so odd when it comes to diversity, when it comes to race, gender, body types, disabilities. It's just so odd how people treat minorities, especially on Toyhouse. I think the reason why I'm bringing Toyhouse and its culture specifically is because it's sort of an echo chamber of all these beliefs and stuff sort of bouncing around each other, and everyone's kind of in this weird state of trying to appease to this invisible audience and trying really hard to seem like you're really progressive, or you really care about all these things, where it's you're just some person on a website just uploading your OCs. You do not need to try really hard to have all these diverse characters just because a lot of people might harp on you for it. You don't have to have diverse characters if you don't want to. The reason why it might be questionable, but ultimately it's your characters, so don't worry about it. We should stop holding people to standards that big corporations like Disney have when it comes to diversity, because everyone on Toyhouse are basically just hobbyists. Some might be more professional, but still, they're not big creators that are in charge of companies or whatever. So I don't know why so many people are you gotta have all this diversity, you gotta do this and that with the characters. Bro, this is just one person making their characters for fun. Let's tone it down a little bit. But anyway, when it comes to race, now I'm going to be talking mostly about black people because I'm black, and also because I feel when it comes to race in the art community and in Toyhouse especially, people are just really weird when it comes to black people. I've noticed there's definitely this air of trying really hard to make characters that fit into a certain mold because they're too afraid of stepping outside of it in fear of looking racist or bigoted or whatever. And it's yes, you should do research on cultures, but also don't fret too much about it, because chances are you have to be really over the top or really misinformed or going based on pure stereotypes to mess up something in a way that makes people offended. For example, a lot of people get really flustered and struggle when it comes to drawing black features, and it's it's not that hard. And then some people are oh, I don't want to draw a black character because what if I make the character's nose too big or something? What if that offends people? And it's bro, you're not going to offend black people. You would literally have to draw a minstrel character in order for people to be offended. And it seems more, and it's honestly a little bit more offensive that you're going to assume that black people are going to get mad at you for drawing characters that have those features. And I also noticed that some people will get mad on behalf of us because of certain features. Someone might be oh, this character's nose is really big, or these lips are really big. That's offensive because it looks like a stereotype. And it's no, some people just have really big noses and lips. It's not offensive because it's true. Some people do. But I would say it's more offensive because it's like you're trying to project this ideal, this sort of narrow box of what you think a black person looks like, instead of just accepting that some people just have exaggerated features that are seen in art. It's just that the art makes it look more exaggerated because, well, it's art and not realism. However, though, this is kind of like a broader art community issue. I'm not sure if I see this too much in Toyhouse, but I still wanted to mention it anyway. But when it comes to things like gender, I'm not going to go too in depth because there's just a lot of layers. But like, man, people on Toyhouse are so weird when it comes to trans characters specifically. There's this whole thing, and now I'm not the person to talk about because I'm not a trans man, but like, I've noticed that some people get weirded out, or they're like, oh, I don't like how this trans male character looks to this or to that or whatever, because that makes me dysphoric or this or that. And it's just like, well, a lot of the times some people might just be making those characters based on themselves. So, I mean, you can be uncomfortable, I guess, but like, it's not offensive if it's based on the creator or whatever. And not everyone is going to fit into the cookie cutter mold of what a trans person should look like. Not every trans person is going to look like their binary transition gender. Some people might look a little ambiguous, and that's okay. Like, there should be more embracing of like different features instead of just it being like, okay, this trans person transitioned to being a woman, so therefore she has to look completely like a woman. She can't look masculine at all. And a trans man has to be completely masculine. Like, no, let them like explore their gender identity more. They don't need to be super feminine or super masculine. They can be in the middle. Like, who cares, you know? But again, this is something I can't touch on too much because, like, again, I'm not trans so anyway. So you're seeing a pattern here with this whole putting things in boxes. And yeah, again, this whole like progressive thing where people are trying really hard to be appeasing and trying really hard to like be inclusive and stuff. But in actuality, they don't really want to be inclusive. They just want to project one type of thing because that's what they think is the best. That's what they think is ideal. When in reality, it's a variety of things. You got to embrace diversity, but they don't want to embrace diversity. They want to embrace one specific type of diversity because they want it to be like a tokenized sort of thing. And that leads me into the next one, which comes to disabilities. Now, this is also where people on Toyhouse tend to get a bit weird, and also this will sort of preview into another topic that will be mentioned in this video. I've noticed that people on Toyhouse are odd when it comes to disabled people because they kind of infantilize and baby them in a way, and they also treat them like as if they can't be flawed. They have to be like perfect little angels that can do no wrong. They have to be very sanitized, and not everyone who's disabled is like perfect and wholesome and sweet. They can be mean sometimes. Not everyone's mean, but still, like, I just don't like when people expect disabled characters to be perfect. It feeds into this narrative of like the whole wholesome disabled person trope. But anyway, so when I mentioned the other topic that I was going to mention later is that a lot of people also seem to kind of think that disabled people are allowed to like be viewed in a sexual way. Like, God forbid you draw a disabled character experiencing sexual intimacy. That's bad. You can't do that. That's terrible. Like, what if they can't consent, guys? That's fetishy. And that's the same for fat characters as well. That's fetishizing fat people. I mean, you're drawing their rolls and their stretch marks and the wrinkles and stuff. That's fetishy. They can't be seen in a attractive light. That's the audacity. I mean, oh my gosh. They have to be drawn in a way that's like perfect and wholesome, especially with the fat characters. They gotta be drawn like with all their clothes on, covering every part of their body, because we can't see that they're fat. We can't see the rolls or the stretch marks. That's fetishizing fat bodies, guys. That's too realistic. That's too weird and fetishy. But like, do you see what I mean? Like, that's how people are on this site. They think that like seeing disabled people or fat people in a way that's like not just infantilized or wholesome, or in fat people's cases, like not some sort of depressing thing where it's like, oh, this character is sad about being fat or whatever, or they're not just like covered up. Suddenly that's fetishy, and that's so terrible, actually. Because think about it like this. That is basically you saying that you perceive those people as like so undesirable that them being seen in a way that's attractive to somebody else is like bad to you. And that is just like quite messed up, actually. It's not very woke of you guys. And this is coming from the website that tries really hard to be progressive. Now, I'm not against being progressive, but I'm just saying that if you're going to be partaking in this whole culture of like moral high grounds and stuff, then you gotta, actually live up to it, but these people don't. They keep going back and forth. They keep basically boomeranging their beliefs. They're trying so hard to be inclusive that actually it does the opposite. And that is what I do not like about this website. I don't hate it entirely. I don't like the website entirely, but like this is definitely a part of the Toyhouse culture that I've noticed, and I find it to be very bizarre.
I have fetishes. I have kinks. Some people just do. Yeah, and I guess to some I am a super evil, creepy boy. It's not morally, according to Toyhouse research. Not perfect, I don't just explode.
So this is going to be a kind of an uncomfy part of the video because I'm going to be talking about like sexual stuff, but I'm not going to make it explicit. I'm just going to be mentioning like kind of briefly, but anyway. So I noticed that Toyhouse is like oddly puritanical and like sex negative, which is interesting again because this is supposed to be like the progressive and very left-leaning site. And no, I'm not like anti-progressive or anything like that, but like I just find it interesting that you'd think that these types of people would align well with sexuality being openly expressive, but no, actually. A lot of people on this site are very, like, anti this or that. I mean, the feral NSFW thing is one thing. Like, yeah, that's one thing to be, like, uncomfortable by. But, like, when it comes to fetishes and kinks, I've noticed that people are just so, like, odd about it. Like, they treat having a fetish and a kink on the same level as being a pedo or a zoophile, and I just think that's, like, disgusting because two of those things are actually like terrible, and then the other thing is just weird. We should stop lumping together people who are weird with legitimate like threats and like actual harmful people. Guys, like I've noticed on like every DNI I've seen, there will at least be like one mention of like do not interact if you have like a fetish or a kink, and it's like always next to like the pedo or zoo stuff because it's like in that zone of like sexual stuff, which is just, can you at least separate it? Because again, having a fetish or a kink is not inherently a bad thing. As long as it's like consensual and it's not revolving kids or animals, then it's fine. But for a lot of these people on Toyhouse, they just think that like, oh, if you have a fetish, you're like evil and awful and disgusting, you deserve to like burn, which is completely the opposite to how people are in DeviantArt who embrace fetishes. Albeit a little much, but But on Toyhouse, no, if you have a fetish, you better keep that to yourself. You better keep that to yourself, you nasty, disgusting little freak. You like feet? Well, you're disgusting. You should die, basically. Oh, you have a kink for like leather? Well, that's disgusting and disturbing. You can't like that. That's weird. You're weird. How creepy and crazy is that? But that's how a lot of people are on Toyhouse. They just approach that sort of thing in such an odd light. And okay, I'm not here to out anyone from that thread, but like there is a thread that's mature locked, and I'm not going to mention anyone specifically. The energy of that thread is just odd, and it's basically a thread people talking about their kinks and stuff. And personally, I don't like the idea of talking about that sort of thing publicly. Like, yes, it's mature locked, but like anyone can click on it if they're over 18. So it's just like, it just feels weird. I feel like that's something you talk about like in a group chat. But anyway, so when I was reading through the thread, I just felt this energy of like these people who felt ashamed of what they're into, or they're like, yeah, I'm a real freak, I'm a weirdo, and it's like the most vanilla thing ever. And I'm just like, this is interesting. And then I would read like some anonymous posts from Tumblr, from like the Toyhouse drama blogs, and I noticed that some people will be like, yeah, I want to mention like what I'm into on the thread, but I'm afraid that people are going to like judge me, or I'm going to get canceled for like my kink or whatever. And I'm just like, wow. Imagine being on a website where you're afraid of being canceled because you like want to express your freakier side in like a place where you can do so, aka a forum thread specifically meant for that. That's crazy to me that people are so afraid of bringing it up because the site's so sex negative. I just think that sex negativity isn't the best. Like, listen, you're allowed to find fetishes or kinks to be weird. You're allowed to like find like a foot fetish weird. I'm not saying that you have to like it, but like if it's harmless, then like you shouldn't shame people for being into it, you know? But people on Toyhouse, they will literally put you on blacklist for just having that sort of thing and be like, oh yeah, do not interact with this person. Like, I blacklisted them because they have like a fart fetish or whatever, and I always thought that was really creepy and weird. Or they make a PSA about you, and I'm like, whoa, you know, there's like actual predators and stuff out there, or like, you know, scammers. But sure, well, let's make a PSA about some random user who just like wants to draw their characters farting. Okay, like really? That's your priority? Is someone with a fetish? Like, of all things, really? That's what you want to focus on? That's what I just find ridiculous, is that the priorities are very skewed. People are more likely to hate on you for being into kinky stuff than they are for like literally anything else. But who knows? The site is weird in a lot of ways. So that's enough about that. Moving on to the next thing.
The magic spot in traditional media. Watching shows like that makes you irritable. You will likely die for supporting terrible things. Please go. Die now. You piece of shit.
So to add on to the performative aspect of how a lot of Toyhouse users are, another thing I've noticed on a lot of DNIs is how people approach fandoms and specifically media that's deemed as problematic or irredeemable. Like that one user that had the freaking Magic School Bus as irredeemable media, which I don't get. Like, what the fuck is wrong with Magic School Bus? It's like the least problematic show ever. I just find it performative because it's like, just because you say this show is bad and it's problematic and someone else enjoys it does not mean that person is evil and morally bad, and it does not make you, for condemning people who like that piece of media, to be a good person. And I've noticed a lot of people, when they have this on their DNIs, they act like as if they're like way better, they're more enlightened for not being into this piece of media. But then it's like, you see what they're into and it's like, wait a damn second, hold on, you like this piece of media that's also considered problematic, so why is it that you get to push that label around to other people? It's like the freaking Danganronpa fan calling the Has-Been Hotel fan bad. Like, excuse you, you're into Dangan fucking Rampa. Like, I think you should be having bigger fish to fry. So I'm just saying, I've noticed this happens a lot with like people who are like into certain animes. Like, it is just so funny seeing a freaking like My Hero Academia fan like freaking putting Harry Potter on a DNI. Like, really now? But I just find that interesting, you know? It's like, God forbid you like a certain piece of media. And no, just because you like it doesn't mean that you condone everything that's in it, okay? Like, there's definitely a lot of problematic elements in certain shows or movies. That doesn't mean that someone who loves it loves the problematic stuff. Having a good, critical, media-trained mind is being able to parse the bad stuff and being able to consume the good stuff and be able to get something out of it. So yeah, if you are of sound mind, you should be able to consume media and understand the bad stuff is not good and the good stuff is good. But for some reason in Toyhouse, a lot of people just are like, no, you have to consume only good things. You're not allowed to like problematic stuff because that means you support everything that's bad. By this logic then, all Toyhouse users have to watch kids shows and they have to watch like super wholesome stuff where nothing bad ever happens and the creators have like a perfect squeaky clean record. Yup, totally. Because that's basically the logic that's kind of going on here. It doesn't make any sense. All media is like a little problematic to some degree. No piece of media is perfect. No creator is perfect. There's always going to be a little bit of smudge on that like squeaky clean glass. So just, it's one of those things where it's like, it really just depends on how you approach it, you know? You gotta be media literate, and a lot of people just aren't, which is crazy to me. You can't be media illiterate and then go and start spouting these things, acting like you're this morally superior person when you're like that doesn't, no, I'm losing my brain cells just talking about this. This is ridiculous. And the same goes for content creators or whatever. I noticed a lot of people put on their DNIs, do not interact if you like this YouTuber or this YouTuber or this content creator or whatever. I've noticed it's always like the Dream SMP people or some random obscure musician or whatever, and some people just don't know what's going on. Some people just like to listen to music or watch a YouTube video and they don't know like the crap that happened with this person. Like, I mean, look, it depends on how they consume, because when it comes to watching like YouTube videos or musicians, you might, accidentally be supporting them monetarily, but like, if someone wants to listen to a problematic musician, they can listen to them. Like, they can still be like, yeah, the music's good, but it's a shame that the band is like a piece of shit. Like, you're allowed to listen to music from people that you find problematic. Like, there is a line. Like, I wouldn't recommend supporting them financially, but if you're just consuming their media like secondhand or without doing that, then sure, that's fine, I guess. It really depends on what the person did, but like, it's one of those things where, why are we trying to dictate who does this and that? And why are you trying so hard to be like, no, you like this thing, then you're automatically bad, or you condone everything that they do? It's just not right. That's not how things work. The guilt by association doesn't always work, okay? The only time where I would say that guilt by association, like, would be a thing is if, like, someone was, like, really close friends with a problematic person and they were, like, standing by their actions. I guess that would make sense. Like, there's been a lot of instances online where some popular person did a bad thing and then their friends weren't like trying to call them out for whatever. They were just like either being complacent and letting them continue, or they were like, nope, the person's actually in the right, you guys suck, because they're their friend. So that makes sense. But like, if someone's just, happens to follow someone who's bad, it's like they don't condone the actions, they just happen to follow, and not everyone keeps up with drama, not everyone keeps up with all this stuff going on, Like, I uninstalled Twitter like a while ago, so there is some wacky shit going on with some creator or artist or whoever. Like, I'm probably not gonna know, and I might find out like in a YouTube video like 3 months later. So you can't expect me to know everything. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with everything, and I feel like that's a lot to ask from people, and it feels a little chronically online, which is just, I mean, I'm chronically online, but not that chronically online. Like, I just keep to my own place in the internet, so I'm not always going to know everything that's going on, and not many people are either. Some people got other things to do, other things to worry about, so keep having them to this high standard just is really unfair and unattainable, honestly, and a lot of people who try to project this are, frankly, hypocrites. Hi, we're going to take a little detour. You see, there was this profile warning that I saw, and it's insanely long, but something I found interesting was that it encapsulates all the issues I have with Toyhouse and its whole progressive, divisive, diversity issues going on. I read through it, and I was just like, huh, interesting. And there was just one part in this morning that stuck out like a really sore thumb, and I just find it so interesting that this person has all these lists for triggers and DNIs and blah blah blah, and if you support this, you're bad, and all this stuff that some people might even know because it's so many acronyms and things that people just don't know. They have to literally go out their way to look up. Like, if I have to literally like have a Wikipedia open just to look through all the things that's listed in a warning, mind you, then it's just too much. Now, this is also an example of a bad warning because it's a yap fest. This is a yap-a-festo. That's how long it is. But anyway, I'm going to scroll through and I want you to just see the craziness of just how hypocritical this sort of mindset is of trying so hard to be progressive and this sort of moral high ground thing going on. Now, obviously, I'm not going to call out this person specifically or whatever, so don't try to figure out who it is, but yeah, let's just scroll through. Did you catch it? Well, I'm not surprised if you didn't. Let's just scroll right back to see where this crazy part was. Yeah, so this person who has all these things of do not interact if you're like some sort of phobic or bigoted any sort of way has several slurs written out, and I don't mean like, oh, just this is the R slur, this is the N word slur. No, they wrote out the actual slurs right in their warning. And there's no like heads up or anything, not even a little spoiler thing. No, it's right there. And yes, I see the fucking N-word right there. And as a black person, I was shocked that on this site, it's allowed for some person to have on their warning the N-word, but oh, it's fine because they said they were warning like, oh, if you use that word that you're like bad or whatever. But like, you typed it out. That's like saying like, oh, I don't do the. I was just baffled, and I'm obviously gonna censor it, but like, you gotta believe me when I say that it's literally there. Like, I can't believe it. I'm shocked. I'm baffled. I'm bamboozled. I'm flabbergasted. Like, this is ridiculous. And that is basically the hubris of how this sort of mindset is, you know? People get so caught up in trying so hard to be morally superior and being progressive and stuff that they end up saying something that's actually offensive. Am I like super offended by this? No, but I am shocked because, wow, I would say it's a lot of audacity. So, yeah. And also, again, it was a freaking yapafesto of a warning. Like, geez Louise, you could have just kept it to like 2 sentences, but no, you had to list all these things that were like bad and then slurs, just straight up slurs. Wow. So, oh my goodness, let's just move on.
You are not valid. Your is not right. Because I don't see your labels say you're not valid. Your pronouns are real. You probably think that to paper. And so's your sexuality. Only mine is the legit identity, because I fucking said so.
So I want to end this video talking about the bizarre political side of Toyhouse and how strange it is. Not just talk about like how people are like hypocritical or trying so hard to be progressive that it's like kind of going backwards, but just how strangely polarizing it is. Because like, I just find it funny that like there were threads about political stuff, and I'm like, I mean, people are allowed to talk about it, but it's just so funny seeing like, there was a Charlie Kirk thread at one point where someone was just like, Charlie Kirk is dead. And then like a good chunk of the comments were like basically showing memes. And then there was some people like, this is sick. You guys are sick and twisted freaks for celebrating this man's death. And it's like, well, I'm not exactly happy he died, but like, well, he said some pretty awful stuff. So it's like, I don't support killing people for that. But like, you know, it's what goes around comes around, okay? Like, I'm just saying, whatever. But yeah, like seeing stuff like that in the forums is really funny, but also just incredibly jarring. But then also I think it's weird how like there is a lot of religious stuff in the forums as well. Like there was some kid who was doing that whole like Jesus loves you and will save you thing, and a lot of people were like roasting them. And I understand there's a lot of discomfort on the site because it's a very left-leaning site, a lot of like queer folks on there, so obviously people are not going to be open to Christians, and I get like not all Christians are like that, but I feel like if you're going to be openly Christian on a very progressive left-leaning site, just like kind of, you know, don't be super over the top about it. I guess I don't want to sound like I want you to downplay your beliefs, but it's just like, I feel like if you're going to have like the whole vibe like Jesus loves you and will save you sort of energy, then people are not going to like you and they're obligated to not like you for that. But if you're just chill, then people are going to be chill towards you. And if someone just presumes you're like a bigoted piece of shit, like from the get-go, even if you don't have that vibe, that's just on them, not on you really. So yeah, but people are not obligated to like be comfortable with your beliefs though. So anyway. Oh yes, and discourse. There is a lot of odd amounts of queer discourse, specifically about like that. Like some people are really against using the word queer because they're like, oh well, it used to be a bad word, and I don't care that it's reclaimed. You know, it makes me feel upset. And I used to get called queer a lot in school or whatever. And like, you know what? Fine, if you're uncomfortable with the term queer, that's your opinion. But I feel like a lot of people have reclaimed it, and they find identity in that. So it's like, let them use that word, let them reclaim it, and if you don't want to reclaim it, then that's your thing. But don't take away from other people just because you feel uncomfortable by it. And another thing is that there is a lot of ace phobia as well, which I do not like as an ace person myself. I just think it's crazy that for some reason a lot of people will love to invalidate my identity, be like, no, actually ace people aren't real. There was a thread where someone was like, well, I don't like this queer stuff, you know, I don't like the queer term, and then they literally entered the thread and closed everything and were like, well, being ace isn't like legit, it's not LGBT. And I'm just like, it's 2026, why are we like trying so hard to just erase ace people? Why is the LGBT community so keen on getting rid of us? We're just vibing, like we're probably the most chill people in the community, and like every time there's always gonna be one motherfucker that's like, no, actually you're not LGBT because you don't have a sexuality, so like, why are you part of it? And it's like, well, it's different from the norm, so why are we not allowed to be a part of it? And I guess it's probably because, like, you know, there's probably a lot of straight people who are also cis who probably also be ace, but like, why does that invalidate them? Like, look, I'm not gonna get into that, but I just am tired of like people trying to validate ace people specifically because it's so annoying. And I feel like this whole thing on Toyhouse of like invalidating identities, especially when it comes to neo-pronouns and xenogenders, I already said my thing about that in another video, but I'll keep it brief here, that I don't really care anymore. Let people do what they want. You know, trying hard to appease to the oppressors is not going to make you safe, because you're still going to be the token, you're going to be the outlier, and one day they're going to toss you out like a used toy eventually. So why bother with them? They're not going to like you, they're never going to like you. The only way they'll ever like you is if you were to just completely disavow you being LGBT. And honestly, they're going to hang over the fact that you used to be LGBT over your head. They're going to be like, well, they used to be LGBT, so like they're kind of little tainted, I guess. So it's like you'll never be able to win. So like, why bother with those types of people? They're not gonna like you ever. So stop trying to like act like as if you're superior because you don't support neo-pronouns or xenogenders. You don't have to get it or like it, but just leave the people who like it alone. Like, they're not really causing any harm, really. And most of the time, I just see all this stuff like online. I don't really encounter it in real life, but like, even if I did, I would just be like, cool, whatever, okay. Like, I don't entirely get it either, but like, am I going to be an asshole and be like, make fun of people for being into that? No, I'm just going to move on with my day and just respect their pronouns and whatever. I may not entirely get it or like it, but like, I feel like the bare minimum is just to tolerate it, you know? Like, that is basically what you should just do. If you don't like it, is just tolerate it. It exists and it's going to keep existing. So why not just move on with your day and just stop being an asshole about it? But yeah. I just find it so interesting that a site that seems to be populated by very progressive people is also so reductive and so keen on invalidating identities of all types. Also goes into like mental illness as well. There was a lot of discourse related to systems, which is why it's called discourse, about like, you know, what system is valid. Like, a lot of invalidation of endogenic systems. I don't get it entirely because I'm not like a system or anything like that, but, and I don't have a definitive opinion on it because I don't feel like it's my place to say that. But I just feel like if it's not, you know, your mind, you shouldn't dictate what people feel. And, you know, when it comes to like disorders, like, you can never really know if someone's faking a disorder. You can't just say this person's faking it because I personally feel like they don't have the right symptoms or they don't act the way that I think they should. It's just reductive, and it makes it seem like as if there's only one right way to be a certain mental illness, when in reality it affects people differently. Like, let people just exist, okay? Being mentally ill is hard enough. You don't need to make people feel worse because they're not mentally ill enough for your standards. Just whatever. Ugh, it's annoying. But that's all I have to say about that. Let's just get to the final part of the video.
The saga is over, there's no more. Goodbye DNI's written support. And those blacklists that were so petty. Goodbye discourse over fandoms and DOS that restrict this plot. I gotta keep inspiration. Toyhouse, you're a weird side. Now that it's done, let's have some fun somewhere else. Goodbye.
Oh, I've said a lot of negative things about Toyhouse over the course of this saga, and I know that some people might watch these videos and think like, oh my gosh, I can't use Toyhouse. What if I get attacked, or what if I get harassed, or what if there's a PSA made about me, or blah 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 blah. Listen, like, out of all the websites for character storage, Toyhouse is probably the best one. This is why I use it. I only engage with the community sometimes, you know. There's only a few forum threads I will participate in. There's only a few types of people I'll probably talk to. I keep to myself for the most part, but I do like to interact sometimes, especially when I'm bored. But like, you don't have to do that. That's the thing. It's not like Instagram or Twitter where like the whole purpose is like the post to get likes. You just post there to get your characters stored somewhere. So for me personally, I do prioritize it just for storage. Would it be nice to have like more favorites or followers, whatever? I mean, sure, but like having clout on Toyhouse isn't really a big of a deal. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. The point is that Toyhouse isn't perfect, and it's got a lot of flaws, and a lot of people are very crappy and weird, but like, don't take these videos as like the end all be all, as if it's like you're gonna get attacked if you just go on there and post your OCs. Chances are you'll probably be left alone. You know, like, there's way worse things that could happen, and also I just feel like other sites just don't hold up as well. Keep in mind that Toyhouse has like no limits on how many images or characters you can upload. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of limits when it comes to like the image sizes themselves, but that's whatever, you know. It's adjustable, I suppose. But like, compared to other sites, it's probably the best. I mean, you have freedom to code how your profile looks, you have freedom to do basically anything, really, which is why a lot of people like it. And you know, some people are like, oh, I moved to Unveil, and I tried Unveil, and the rules are just a little too strict for me, which is another thing. Toyhouse is pretty lax with a lot of its rules. I mean, there are some things that are a little iffy, I guess, but I'm not getting into that. But with Unveil, it just feels too restrictive. It feels too squeaky clean and sanitized, and it kind of gives out that same performative energy. Like, literally, one of the rules that I just find ridiculous is that you cannot show nipples of any kind, not even like male ones, because they're like, oh well, we know that nipples are inherently sexual, but like, just to keep things fair and balanced, we're gonna have, you can't have male nipples showing. So like, you could literally have a character that's just shirtless. Like, maybe the character's just wearing a fucking swimsuit. Nope, you gotta cover that up, even though it's a man, and it's more socially acceptable for men to be seen shirtless. That's bad, I guess, according to Unveil, which I just find ridiculous, because really? Really? So yeah, I am not using Unveil because I'm not gonna be on a site where I'm like not allowed to basically post that. Like, I don't want to have to be on a site where I feel like I have to walk on eggshells. Like, I don't like that. I mean, yes, you have to walk on eggshells on Toyhouse, but if that's with the user base itself, not with like the actual rules, you know, like, because I've seen some pretty crazy characters, so there's definitely a lot more lax things going on, but it's the user base where things can get a little crazy. And again, it's mainly with the forums and like more of like the social side of things. If you're someone who just wants to post there, you just post your characters and go, then you're fine, you're safe, you're good. So yeah, like, and also you can curate your space pretty well, like blocking or quiet mode or whatever. Like, that's also going to be helpful for like if you just want to have a more quieter, calmer experience on Toyhouse. A lot of other websites just don't have that as well, because it's like, you block someone, it's like, what's the point? You're going to see their posts or whatever, so you might as well not block them, because you're going to encounter them at some point. That Toyhouse isn't like absolute hell site. There's worse sites like TikTok, but it's very flawed, and these Toyhouse Saga videos are meant to just critique it in a way that I haven't seen other people critique it, or I've seen people talk about it, but I never saw it in video form, so I wanted to fill that niche. So now that I've talked about what I've wanted to talk about, I'm done. If you sub for Toyhouse, just know that there's not gonna be any more after this. Yeah, you know, we'll talk about more niche topics as well, not just like all art stuff as well, but niche topics while I draw something. So I hope you guys look forward to that. I enjoyed making these videos, but it's time to put it to rest. And don't worry though, the Tomodachi Life songs are going to be a mainstay for the channel. I'm going to keep making those basically for like ever, and it's going to probably continue even when like especially when the new game comes out. So with that said, I'll see you quacks later.